I told you there was secret meetings.
What kind of a meeting?
You'll find out when we get there. Remember, you're not to breathe a word of what you see or hear to anyone. Not to anyone, do you understand?
All right, everybody, it's our Klaus here, and I want to jump right into this video today. We're going to be discussing a clip from the Sopranos season 1. It's from the 7th episode. It actually aired all the way back in February of 1999. And what I want to do is discuss how I feel it symbolically foreshadows what could very well be the second 9/11 to take place here in the States. And when I say second 9/11, I mean second massively government conspired, or whoever powers that be masquerading as the military and all of that, perpetuate this act of aggression towards its own people to destabilize things, eliminate the world as we know it, and help usher in the world that they so desire to create. So let's take a look at this clip. I'll break it down as we go. We're going to connect it to everything going on here with Donald Trump, what's going to be going on moving forward. I'm going to make as compelling a case as I can how these seemingly obscure pieces are actually quite interwoven and tightly knit. So let's take a look over at this here, all right? And in thinking about this as well, pay attention to where that water heater is. It seems arbitrary now, but we'll come back to it. All right, so here I want to point out, this is Tony Soprano. He's downstairs in his basement. He's watching a documentary on the Battle of Midway. Bear that in mind. And behind him here, we have a clock on the wall, which very clearly seems to be indicating the time of 9/11. Notice as well the two light bulbs that are behind Tony, and the 9/11 clock is behind the second light bulb. All right, this is what makes me feel like this is connecting to the second 9/11 here, all right? The first one, you have the cupboards there, again, closed doors, inside job, all of these things, closer to the pipes. But so let's keep building. All right, so it's very important there. The narrator said this might prove to be the trump card. So at this point, we have these important variables of Battle of Midway, Trump, and 9/11, second 9/11. Now look at this clock over on the wall here. There is a very dramatic emphasis put on it as Tony is walking out of the basement. And so if we take a still from that, you can see here that when we zoom in, the time is quite clearly 9/11, okay? It is between the 11 and the 12, but that does make it what I am positing it as. So very important to keep that in mind. And with those variables, Trump, 9/11, Battle of Midway will start to build. But first here, this water heater, as I said, pay attention to it. Notice it is now directly next to the stairs. Okay, this is just a couple episodes later, still in season 1. The clock that was on the wall is completely gone. That's its one and only cameo. So again, very important scene, leads me to believe there's something to be found. I typed Battle of Midway into Google and clicked on the news tab. This is how I came across all this. I found that one of Hollywood's most renowned directors, Roland Emmerich, is set to be directing a movie based on that very battle. Again, he's got a $100 million budget, and the film is slated to be released on November 8th of 2019. Now, November 8th, very important day, right? The 2016 elections, what put Trump in the position to be brought into office when he quote unquote won those. But take a look at this here. Again, Google just planting the subliminal seeds that it does when you're looking into the 2016 election. September 11 attacks are one of the other things that come up. Now, how just peculiar and bizarre does that seem? Now, take a look at Roland Emmerich here. For those of you not familiar, this is a disaster filmmaker. All right, look at his films down below here. The Day After Tomorrow, the tagline is "We Were Warned." You have Independence Day, Godzilla, he did 2012. The list goes on and on, right? He's also got some pretty far out sci-fi, being at the helm of the Stargate film. And of course, all of the connections that could be made towards CERN with that. But so Emmerich's very interesting here, right? Look at his award that they list on the front page. Saturn Award for Best Director. Of course, Saturn being one of the most notoriously occult planets, having a tremendous amount of energy put into it. But I want to keep building on this a little bit here. Let's take a little look at some of the numbers that we have here, right? So 3 years to the day, Emmerich's going to be releasing the Midway movie in the wake, right, of Trump's election, 3 years to that day. Battle of Midway, what this is all about. Notice here, Donald Trump wins is one of the things that comes up. We also have these ideas of the 666, 33, as above, so below, and Planet Trump. Now, why I mention that, of course, as many of you might remember, The Economist had a pretty controversial cover the other year when they had the Planet Trump tarot cover, right? So that's what I'm looking at right there. And so again, very interestingly here, when it's on its side, you see we have two stacks of cards, but they give us 2 1s. So that's an 11. There are 8 cards. There's that 11, 8 yet again, right? So 11 times 8 gives us 88, which is the same value as Trump, the New Age, Get Out, all of these things. But so I really want to drill that point home to you as best as I can. And when we're thinking about that Planet Trump cover and the number 8 and all of these things, I just want you to see here, we have these 2 tilted cards, Judgment and the Star. And when we're looking at the connections between Emmerich and Trump, they are pretty staggering. If we add up the letters of both of their names, they are 138. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. This is a massively important piece to everything here. But what I want to show is that when we're looking at Emmerich, take a look here. You can see his birth date listed as November 10th. And so when we look at that 1110 number, it's very important here, right? You see it's the same as Donald John Trump. It's also the same as Judgment and the Star. So now when we go back here, those are the 2 cards that are tilted here. So the Star is the 17th card. That's very important because 2018 is going to be the 17th year since 9/11, 2001. And then of course the Trump card that we're talking about from the Sopranos bit here, right? Quite literally the Judgment card, the Aeon card, the overturning of things the way as they are card, okay? So a lot of importance to be found there. Now let's come back here though real quick. See, when we're looking at this 11-8, getting it down to the 88 and Get Out being there, the whole reason I have that referenced is because in that movie, and we did a whole video on this, one of the characters says that the next 9/11 is going to be on some geriatric shit. Okay, no, notice that's a 17-letter phrase. Again, the Star. This episode of The Sopranos we're talking about, season 1, episode 7, right? 17, the Star. You see that. Now look down below here for this coding. President Trump, the second 9/11. All right. Very clearly putting it in there. We have these ideas of history repeating, the rapture delusion, all things being revealed, on and on, right? You can see further breakdowns below there, but it is very interesting. Of course, even just this reference here to Statue of Liberty, and we're thinking about all these bits with Emmerich, right? You can see in the day after tomorrow, clearly overtaken in this new ice age. So fascinating stuff to me here. I'm not going to belabor the point on that. He's a disaster filmmaker. We have 9/11 connections from that clip to the Battle of Midway. These dates that line up already the way they do, very, very telling to me. But now let's keep going here because I want to keep building so you can see as much as possible. As I said, if we add all the letters in Trump and Emmerich's name, they both total to 138. Now, what's particularly interesting for today's purposes is when we're watching an episode of The Sopranos, and if we skip the intro, the vast majority of these episodes start directly with the theme song, right? Woke up, got yourself a gun, all of that. But if we hit the skip intro button on here, take a look at what happens. It jumps us right to 138. Now, the importance that I have with that, with going out, getting yourself a gun, the number 138 is, of course, do remember back when we had this nice bit here with the Misfits Bullet EP, Kennedy's Brains Blown Out. The song that accompanied it on the A side there is We Are 138. So very interesting to me. Okay, now I've looked at this before, and we've shown you how we have these references here, and then again the mock-up that somebody did in connection to this being Trump that gets put on the slate there. Now let's go back though, because with Roland, with all these 9/11 things, there's more to be said. So take a look at this article from Popular Mechanics talking about this. Bizarre, because Popular Mechanics, right, typically a science and tech magazine, automotive, talking about a movie coming out. When they're talking about Emmerich, Independence Day, Day After Tomorrow, and White House Down. Very interesting choice of films for them to list out there, all right? So now, the reason I bring up Popular Mechanics and all of this is because when the 9/11 Truther movement was really getting momentum, I remember distinctly them coming out and fighting very hard against that, trying to say, no, the official story is the way it went. This is all absolutely ridiculous, so on and so forth. When we look into Popular Mechanics, take a look here. They're owned by Hearst Communications. We look further into Hearst Communications, we find that they are located in Manhattan in the Hearst Tower, which happened to be the first skyscraper to break ground in New York City after 9/11 2001. Of course, the original building was 6 stories. They added on to that. But isn't that so very fascinating? Take a look at this as well. You have this article from the New York Times. While fires raged downtown on the afternoon of 9/11, Lord Foster was presenting his tower to the Hearst Corporation Design Committee. Now, you can see very clearly that this is all about that building that we are talking about. Take it one step further here on the Google Maps, Hearst Tower. Check out this zip code. Looking at it backwards, 911, because those zeros get dropped when we're looking at this information. Okay, so now Norman, the man they're talking about here on the afternoon of 9/11, Foster happens to be a supremely important individual, knighted 7 times over. I don't even understand what his what his privileges are, frankly, based on the honors bestowed upon him. But you can see here again a very, very important figure nonetheless. So now, with all of that being established there, let's get back to all of this over here, talking about this episode, all right? Only episode in the entire series to be directed by a woman. Again, I feel this is important because when we're looking into this information regarding the Midway film, you can see here that Wonder Woman 1984 comes out the week before, yet is mentioned alongside it. So to me, very interesting. Again, Wonder Woman 1984, obviously George Orwell's whole piece on that. But a lot to be said there. Okay, so now keep going. And again, when we're breaking down the episode and the season, we have this reference to the star, and again, T and S, just like the Sopranos or the Simpsons. Again, these massively influential pieces. T20, S19, 2019, right? When that's coming out. Again, 17 mirrored as 71. We add them, we get 88. Now here, it's the home stretch piece. This is critical. The production code for this episode is 107, a supremely important number. Now, when we're looking at this, check out Aquarius, right? Age of Aquarius is one of the most common themes that comes alongside this whole New World Order bit. And I want to show you this again because not nearly enough people are going to watch the video I just did about this, the importance of the water, the symbolism. But this is Nemo's symbol. This is the world's only underwater research facility that is owned and operated by NASA. And when we take a look at this symbolism here, I think it's so fascinating because we get this nice NWO. Of course, these E's do not have backs on them, so it's actually 2 sets of 3, right? So you have a nice 33 in the middle of the NWO. Again, I had broken down how this is also symbolic of the as above, so below symbolism, the morning star, the inverted triangle, again, how it directly conjures up images of the Baphomet here, and of course the enthroned Washington, and I'll get back to him in just a second here. But so now, getting back to this, you see with this 107, we do have the number 20. And again, just off of that Sopranos clip, right, we had this idea of the Trump card. And again, Judgment is the 20th card. Day of Be With Us and 515 are both, again, apocalyptic sentiments. One is from Vision in the Voice. The other is from Dante's Divine Comedy. Again, a tremendous amount to be said about both of those. But the thing I want to mention here at the end is that this episode starts and ends with the Jefferson Airplane song, White Rabbit. And again, just these ideas of airplane are very interesting. If I go back to Norman over here, you can see that he was in the, let's see if I can, there you go. He served in the Royal Air Force and had a passion for aircraft. And so again, tying all of these planes, 9/11, all of it just closer and closer together here. But again, this song White Rabbit, the sentiment of White Rabbit in connection with MK Ultra, mind control, it is most certainly one of the most just notorious pieces, especially in conjunction with Alice in Wonderland. But take a look here. If we were to follow the White Rabbit, I want you to see here, it is the same value as the triumphal entry. Again, when Jesus returns, again, that is a 17-letter phrase. But you can see here reference to 2018 as well as MK Ultra mind control, follow the White Rabbit. If we look at White Rabbit on its own, you do find that it has the same coding as Fifth Avenue. Again, there's our Donald J. Trump yet again, right? Just staring us in the face with all of that. So, lot to be said. Tremendous amount to be said. But I think it is all absolutely fascinating and worth further investigation. This is a really quick video. I tried to simplify it as much as I could, in the hopes that more people would be able to keep pace with this and see the significance that I am positing for you in all of this information. All right, so again, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. As always, feel free to leave more information in the comments, ask questions, this and that, but supremely fascinating. All right, so again, thank you so much, and please be well.